If you know me at all, you know that I'm one of the most technologically resistant people around. So you're probably as surprised as I am to see me doing a presentation for you about a software program. A little bit of background. As a piano performance major at the University of Colorado during the late 1960s and early 70s, I know I was one of the most frustrating piano students my dear, patient, incredibly kind Howard Walsh ever taught. I know this because he told me so many years later. I had absolutely no intention at the time of becoming a piano teacher. What could be more boring than that? Or of using any of the skills or information that my teachers were making available to me. Thankfully, I managed to graduate anyway. I aligned myself along the way with a young man who was passionate about becoming a public school music teacher, and he began sending me students. I did my best to teach them, but realized very soon that I needed a lot more information about what I was doing, and I have literally spent the last 48 years trying to catch up. My first year as a college graduate was spent living in Inglewood, Colorado, working as a singing cocktail waitress at a dinner theater in South Denver called the Country Dinner Playhouse, and teaching piano in people's homes on Mondays when that theater was dark. I made enough money in the approximately 15 months I worked there to pay off my student loans and purchase both a new car and a new 52-inch upright piano. It was obviously a pretty lucrative job for those days, but because I hated working in the dark and trying to sleep during the day, I gave it up, moved back to Boulder, and have been teaching in this community ever since. Recordings, first vinyl, then cassettes, then CDs, and now pure digital, became one of my most important mediums for learning and ultimately one of my most important tools for teaching. I've always used recordings in my teaching, early on, even sending my own records home with my students. When I lost a few records that were fairly precious to me, I tried making cassette recordings of my vinyl by putting the cassette player's little microphone next to my speaker to record a sonata movement for a student to listen to. It was probably sometime in the early to mid 80s that I amassed enough equipment in my own studio to start making recordings of myself and sending them home with my students. If you're like me, there's never enough time in any lesson to cover everything you wish could be addressed. So when I realized that I could, metaphorically, send myself home with my students via a recording, I did. On a cassette, later on a CD, and now I can be right there on their phone. Not only can I help them learn how to play with a metronome, I can play the other part of their duet or concerto with them. I can correct a rhythmic mistake. I can demonstrate how to change a straight rhythm into a swing rhythm. I can help them learn how to count out loud. I can demonstrate a poco ritardando. All the auditory lessons I might demonstrate once or twice in my studio can be accessed right there in their own practice space if they're willing to use it. I have to tell you about one more aha moment that brought this all home to me. That thing I mentioned earlier about learning to play with the metronome. In about 1983, I think, I found myself teaching a high school junior who, at her interview with me the previous spring, had declared her intention to major in piano in college. At the time, she was working on a Haydn sonata movement, and I was having some rhythmic problems that I thought might be helped by her practicing with a metronome. However, she was unable to stay with a metronome. Knowing what I know today about students' intuitive abilities to let that sound into their ears, especially if they've never done it until this late in their development, I was concerned. And because I couldn't think of anything else to try, I made a cassette recording of myself playing her Haydn sonata movement with the metronome ticking and sent it home with her to practice. The result was astonishing. Within a couple of weeks, she was able to play first with the recording, then without the recording, but with the metronome, and finally with the metronome at a different tempo, all in the period of a few weeks. I'll never forget the day my son got his first iPhone and asked me to sit down on the sofa with him so that he could show me this life-altering new device of his that was simultaneously a phone, a computer, a calculator, a metronome, a camera, a clock, even now, a baby monitor. That list goes on and on. In a way, Audacity has now become that sort of tool for me in my studio. Of all the various systems I've used over these last 40 plus years, it works the best because it's easy to use, it provides an acceptable sound quality, my students are likely to use it, it does everything I need all in one place, and finally, it's affordable. And I must say, I use it twice as much now during pandemic teaching than I ever did before. I'll now attempt to show you what little I know about Audacity, the free software program that allows users to record and edit sound clips. As with my iPhone, Audacity is capable of doing many things I don't care about, don't use, and therefore can't show you. And because the configuration of your technological devices is likely much different than mine, I won't get into the details today of setting it up in your studio. But here are the 6 things I can show you. How I record through a microphone, how I save a recording to my hard drive, how I email a recording to a student, how I record from YouTube, how I change the tempo of a recording without changing the pitch, and finally, how I record using multi-tracks. Let's get started. So here's how I make a recording on Audacity, and I almost always do it with a metronome ticking. I pull up Audacity on my computer, I hit the red button, I turn on my metronome and play. Hit stop, the yellow button. Now I need to listen to it to make sure that I like the sound I got. The playback button is the green one. Here's the sound. I microphone is sitting on this red pillow right here. So it's pointed at both the metronome and where the sound comes out on the piano. And that's usually as good as I need to do. So now, watch how easy it is for me to save this to my computer. I hit File, I go down, click Export. I'm saving it to student Karen. So her name is already up here. I type in the name of the song, New Orleans Blues, the tempo, hit save, okay. There it is. Next, watch as I email this to my student Karen. First, I minimize it. Next, I open my email. Compose. In the subject line of the email, I always type in the subject of the email. And the tempo. I go down to attach files from computer. Now, all of my recordings are under recordings, students, by name. Here's Karen. Here's New Orleans Blues. I attach and then send. That's as easy as it can be. So say I wanted to add a backing track to the same song. First, I move the microphone. Second, I turn on Audacity. Hit the red button. One, ready, begin. Next, I'd like to show you how to record from YouTube. So I already have my Audacity screen up. I go up to the toolbar at the top, find the place that says MME, scroll down, find Windows, WASAPI, click on that. Then I make this screen somewhat smaller so that I can pull up my YouTube video that I've already selected. Next, I hit the record button, the red button on Audacity, and the start button on YouTube. stop on Audacity. Now, I want you to hear what it sounds like, so I hit play, and here's the sound. Here's how I change the tempo of a recording. First, I go up to the toolbar again at the very top. You see where it says Effect. Click on that, drop down to Change Tempo. I already know from practicing this for several weeks this summer that it's at 112, so I type that in. You can't slow down or speed up too much. I erase the 112 in the next box and put 100. Hit OK. Notice what happens to the blue on Audacity when I do that. Here's what it sounds like. The last thing I want to show you is how to make a multi-track recording on Audacity. You might use this, for example, to record both parts of a duet so that a student can hear how their part fits with their partner's part. First thing I do is hit the red button on Audacity, turn on the metronome. 1, 2, ready, go. Hit the yellow button, stop. Put on my headphones so I can hear what I just recorded. Hit the red button again. Audacity. Turn on the metronome. 1, 2, ready, go. Hit stop on Audacity. Then I want to hear what it sounds like together, and I want you to hear what it sounds like together. So I'll hit the green button on Audacity, turn on the metronome. 1, 2, ready, go. There you go.